Who questions my ability?
Hello.
Hello. We're live.
All right, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're live. Welcome back to the Swain Baddy League. We got BBB versus BioD coming up here, game 2 of the night. And I just want to congratulate Smiggles real quick. He is officially made it to an SBL roster after half a season of emergency subbing for various teams. He will join the Broke Bottom Boys full-time as of today.
Oof.
Rest in peace, Purple Pickle Pie and Booze Graph. Nothing of value has been lost.
And he's actually the second player to join their team, as Werbs joined late as well.
Yeah, as they they drafted a ZZ Death Repair ZZ, who obviously was not able to play at all this season.
And one of the questions we had, sorry, you go ahead.
All of this plays out into Zwerbs getting that support brand.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the questions we had was who would be bot laning with Cammer, and it looks like it's gonna be Zwerbs getting the brand. And it's also kind of a pick away from Scotch, but he also will play the Zyra, or even I've seen him practicing some Lulu, so should be fine with that.
Yeah, there's some options open here, but it does give Dario Chopman his Ornn that I've heard a lot of good things about. I don't know if he's played it yet this season. He played it in week 1, and it went fairly well.
He was 1v2ing their top side.
Yeah, fairly well.
Fairly well.
But this is a pick I've heard a lot of good things about, and this presumably will not be going over to Salvo. We won't see that Graves jungle, or that Graves ADC thing again.
And it still kind of upsets me that he got away with it. He's sworn to me over and over that Graves is just a broken champion and that it can be played wherever. But I'm telling you, if I was against that Graves, get down, you're gonna get clapped. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's worked. I don't necessarily get it, but it's worked. But on the other side, we got Goku Rose picking Kane, which I think will actually be Goku Rose's pick.
Yeah, he's been trying to be one of the more aggressive damage-dealing junglers this season, I believe. But he is known as a buy one trick, according to his na.op.gg. It's been banned every single week because there's not that much that teams have been banning against these players. And Kane definitely one of his higher tier picks, I'd say.
Yeah, and he maybe needs all the comfort he can get. He has struggled when he's been playing in the jungle.
Yeah.
As Ezreal is going to be the pick for back in our day. That's a little bit of a surprise. That is not a very traditional Salvo pick.
Yeah, it might be just trying to be as safe as possible against the Brand, because Brand can be pretty oppressive in the lane. Ezreal at least can farm decently far away, but I don't think I've seen Salvo ever play it, so...
Yeah, I don't particularly like that pick, especially because pretty much any combination BBB
be good.
I recommend skipping.
Yeah, so back in our day, gonna round this out with a Malzahar and a Lulu ban. And we've got Broke Bottom Boys taking away Vel'Koz, and I'm gonna put my money down and say Ziggs is the last ban here.
Probably either in Orianna, I would say. Both champions.
I don't know, man. Every time I watch Blab play Ziggs, I just think it's so obviously needs to be taken away from him. But he gets it yet again.
Kind of
One of the big,
standard. Does a lot of
yeah,
damage.
we'll see. One of the big questions here is, will BBB be picking an AD carry or not? They picked Solution 2 weeks ago, and yep, it'll be Jin today. So one of those kind of standard camera picks, but they put him back on an AD carry with whoever ends up supporting him.
And a Fizz pick for, I believe, my wing, correct? If, well,
Maybe.
what do you think? What do you think? So, according to these summoners that we look like right now, it could be Smiggles on the Jin. Hammer. Wait.
I
Hammer
was going to suggest I wouldn't be surprised if this is Wang in the top lane. This team is this team just banned their top laner. Their top laner was just removed from the league, so they had to find somebody to play top lane. But this is something that Wang has been suggesting for a very long time. He always played a bit more top lane in solo queue than I think a lot of people realized. And so maybe this was their solution to get just the most talent on the Summoner's Rift, is they have a lot of players that want to compete for a few slots. It lets Zwerbs play one of his mages. It lets
Hammer's playing support. Brand, not really a support.
Oh, yeah, Jesus Christ! I didn't.
Oh wait,
no, there's
some
last minute.
Okay, they're trolling us. Okay.
Right, so Camera's playing Fizz. Zwerbs is playing Brand. So we got Brand, Jin in the bot lane with Zwerbs and Smiggles. Camera finally makes it to a solo lane.
Against Renai Circulation, gonna be a big test for Fizz. Was early on, it's not a good lane, but once you get that level 6, kill pressure starts immediately. And if he can't kill the Ziggs, then it's gonna be a little bit of a question mark why he picked it in the first place. That champion is really annoying and slippery, but pre-6, not that strong. So we'll see how well he plays the lane.
Yeah, and we know Cameron can be an excellent player. This season not been the kindest to him of all the SPL he's ever played. But to be honest, if I had to go into the mind of a Cameron here, I think he is just tilted out of the stratosphere with the support play he's had every single week. Even if he has had some issues of his own, his support play, no matter who or what champion they've put into the lane with him, has been god-awful and atrocious all season. I don't think Cameron can keep trying to play with somebody that's that much weaker of a player than him. And so I really like this decision. Cameron's tried to play mid lane in the past, but this is maybe the most sense it's ever made. Give Cameron a solo lane and just try to let him hard carry the game.
And what one meta that I would think that this Cameron team in general would do really well is actually trying to learn how to funnel. As silly as it sounds, funneling is gonna be nerfed, but I would have expected this team out of any team in the league to try this, just to put all of their resources on Cameron and maybe say screw the side lanes. We need this guy to be as strong as possible.
On paper, it makes sense. Cameron would probably succeed in a funnel game, but I think there's actually a lot of egos on this team that wouldn't be able to take the hit to their personal play that funneling requires.
Yeah, and Goku Rose, definitely one of the more carry junglers, so I can't see him playing a Braum or Eric or any support. It's hard to say. But in theory, I thought that would be their best strategy.
Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe, I'm not ruling it out. We could see it at some point still. But on this other side of the rift, we haven't talked about back in our day a whole lot, mainly because I think everyone knows what to expect out of this team. This bot lane does give me some questions. I know we were questioning the Ezreal pick when it got picked. Scotch picked Leona to round this draft out, which we didn't even have a chance to comment on. I don't particularly like Leona Ezreal. Maybe it's better than it used to be, but that's, to me, is what Scotch and Salvo have done all season long, and it's kind of picked whatever their two comfort champs are.
Yeah, but Leona really doesn't synergize greatly with Ezreal. Ezreal needs time to scale up. He needs to get that tier. He needs to get the Triforce. And Leona, a lot of Leona's what they want to do is win the lane early and just be able to keep diving people, which is pretty good in the brand if you can survive his poke. But I definitely have to question that Ezreal pick alongside him.
Yeah, and at least they will have a bit more of a skill advantage than they've had in prior weeks. They're going up against Smiggles and Swerves. They're not going up against Cammer.
Yeah. And we haven't seen Smiggles play ADC at all, so who really knows how good he is on this gen? We'll have to see throughout this game.
Alright, my favorite activity of this current meta, rearranging the picks.
Yeah. That's probably going to keep happening for the rest of the season and have to redo it sometimes because I think if you do it before the champions actually even load in, it just resets it.
It does! That's happened to me before, and I thought I was just crazy.
Definitely just a client issue.
Well,
thanks, right?
You know this was made by an indie game developer. Right. Games.
Look at what's happening here.
Yeah, we got Back in our day going for the invade. Will they walk straight into Smiggles? Smiggles sees this coming, gets the ward down, but Back in our day does get the clear, so everyone knows that everyone knows.
The jig is up. Dario Chapman leaves with 10 gold, I believe.
GG.
Yep. Get that Ornn rolling. Can't help but think that Ornn's gonna have not the easiest time trying to kill the Mundo, but Dario Chapman's definitely proved me wrong before with his champs.
Yeah, and sometimes I think Dario Chapman's almost played at his best when he can just go into a situation where he goes even in the lane and then gets to just be a beast of a tank in the team fights, which for this team would work out very well.
Yeah.
As we presumably will get a pause in here as Scotch just had a DC, so where would the SBL be without a pause?
Another game, another pause, but hopefully
Well, this is
doesn't
great.
last too long.
We always have a chance to shout out our sponsors here. Guys, I know your assholes are lonely, but they don't have to be. You can fill yourself with some wonderful dragon penis too. All you have to do is go check out our wonderful sponsor, baddragon.com, the world's premier source of authentic, mystical silicone penises. And get yourself a nice dragon dildo. Because your team might suck. But your sex life doesn't have to.
Through that. Thankfully, my team doesn't suck, so
Yeah,
I'm
just
good
think,
to go.
Cal, your teammates are the only thing between you and a dragon dildo right now.
True. Oh, jeez. Why is it always when I'm casting?
Cal, I'm trying to tell you something. I think you need a bad dragon in your life.
I'll have to look into it after the game for sure.
Alright, yeah, next time you're in Wisconsin, I can help you pick something out if you'd like.
Oh no. Maybe one day. Today's not today. But a real quick look at the jungler matchup in general, at where they're going to be wanting to focus their pressure. I think Goku Rose definitely going to be wanting to look for some assassination potential on that Ziggs. Depends how far back he is, but getting that Fizz rolling should be #1 priority. If not that, probably the bot lane. And inside of Splinter, I mean, Scotch has good engage potential, but it's decently hard to gank a brand. So it really depends who's pushing on who in the bot lane. Mid should be pretty hard to gank. Fizz is pretty slippery, like I said before, so he probably won't get a gank on there. And then top farm fest, always a good time.
Yeah, back to that bot lane though. I do think there might be some pretty natural push coming out of Smiggles and Zwerbs. There's a lot more moves they're gonna just splash on the creeps, specifically out of the brand. Whereas Ezreal, it's pretty easy for him to get pushed on. And if Smiggles and Zwerbs do start to push, that could be a ripe lane for Master Splinter to come down to.
True. And if Ilion lands all the combos, especially at 6, it's pretty much impossible to move for 3 seconds. So wouldn't be bad for them at all. Getting Splinter ahead early would really change how this game goes. Make it much more difficult for Camer to actually land anything. I'm kind of curious how the Fizz ult with Crescent Guard, which is in Xiao's ult, how the interaction works. Because if you're outside of the little circle that Xin Xiao does with his ult, then he won't do any damage, I believe. So we are getting ready to get back in though. Be a little neat thing to see if Splinter can pull it off if he gets caught out.
Alright, so just waiting for this last ready confirmation here out of the Broke Bottom boys. And there we go. Alright, so it should be an unpause coming through in a sec. By the way, I want to give a shout out to the Broke Bottom boys. The only time I can ever get this team's name right is when I have notes up on my second monitor. I don't know if I've ever once called them by their actual team name when I'm talking about them otherwise.
I think I called them like Brokeback Boys for a while. It's Broke
Yeah.
Bottom though, right?
Broke Bottom boys, but there's baddies and backs and all kinds of other words that get thrown in there that are not broke or bottom or boys.
The BBB, that's all.
Yeah, that makes it a little simpler.
Yeah. The real problem is it's BBB against BOD. That kind of gets tongue twistery. Oof. Be gross.
Alright, I'm really hoping to watch some of this bot lane here. I want to see if we get to see any more level 2 deaths. Because I'm up for those. And Swings and Swerves are going to hit level 2 first here.
Presumably they need to be walking up, not stepping back, but maybe they're in fear of a Splinter gank. Level 2.
Yeah, it happens to everyone. That Splinter effect, it's almost as valuable as the player himself. The fact that everyone plays scared, no matter what, against you.
True, but in the champions in Xiao really doesn't look to gank early. I think he's much more scaling. I would definitely be looking for Kayn to do ganks before him, or to look for a counter jungle, because he probably could beat us in Xiao early.
It's overall pretty quiet early game here.
Top lane trades though.
Swerves is maybe pretty far away. He is going to get stunned by the melee range Leona there, as he's now probably a bit lower than a brand wants to be. Meanwhile, in this mid lane, Goku Rose is coming in under a nice circulation. The Ignite was dropped early by Cameron, but Biz is going to fizz his way out of that one.
That was actually so bad for Camer, because he was down health. Like, he didn't even win a health trade using his Ignite. But here comes Splinter.
And yeah, Splinter into this bot lane. They do get the stun onto Swerves. The flash comes out of the brand. Splinter flashes into follow. First blood going over to Xin Zhao. And now they're going to try for some damage on the Smiggles. They get the stun. Smiggles flashes under his turret. But first blood onto Splinter. He's going to maybe get that jungle ball rolling nice and early this game.
Where you're talking about the bot lane of blue side having the early push came true. Splinter was able to get a gank because they didn't have any vision. I don't know if they had the wards, but right now they have wards up. They should have put a ward there. And
yeah, well,
really
honestly,
bad mistake.
That was pretty inexcusable from a team perspective too, because they saw Splinter walk through the mid lane after that Camer versus Renai fight. Anyone that's played pre-made League of Legends should have seen that gank coming, and there was just zero respect out of Smiggles and Swerves.
I'll cost them
As
both
First
their
Blood?
flashes.
Yeah. First Blood, both their flashes. You know Master Splinter's coming back to that lane now.
Yeah, and Leona's the perfect champion to set him up.
Yeah, and
Real bad.
Leona Ezreal into a lane with no flash. This is going to be very, very difficult for Smiggles and Zwerps.
Only their only solace being the fact that Savo has to go tier first. And it's actually double tier with Lab going tier early.
Yeah,
Waiting
that's
for the
their,
late game.
in as good of a position as you'll see a double tier team in 5 minutes, I guess. So they have that going for them. And as Dario Chopman maybe waiting for Wayne to take a little bit of creep damage here as he's coming out of the river. Gonna get some slows, get a knock up onto the wing, but that's the end of that. But you know, Wang really wants to come get these creeps. Dario Chopman not gonna let him.
It's pushing into him, so he's gonna miss all of them, presumably. Oh, you got that one.
Wang playing this pretty aggressively. Now Master Splinter has found Goku Rose here in the jungle. There's the flash. Remember, Master Splinter does not have his, but oh! Denied over the wall with the auto attack to secure the kill.
That's the last thing you want to see. Giving Splinter a kill is bad enough, but you gave him an assist and a kill on Blab, who was already kind of winning the matchup with the summoner advantage. That's real horrible.
Yeah, a lot of little things going very well for back in our day here. 6 minutes into BBB's new roster reveal. Also, my bad, that was a Comet that secured that kill in mid lane. That was not an auto. I'm not used to all the random splash effects that come out of champions in 2018.
Yeah,
But,
Comet's real annoying.
Yeah, Cameron coming in. He's got his escapes.
Real annoying when he just suddenly gets a free dash. But
I don't like this. He's one of my all-time least favorite champs in League of Legends. Just never any fun to play against. He gets out of everything for free. Bullshit.
It was real good for Splinter to be there because Cameron was threatening to dive with the ulti, and early on I've seen his is with just that Hextech revolver that he's got one-shot people through barrier, so good on Splinter to recognize it and keep his mid laner alive. Even giving him the blue buff.
Good guys, man.
Dario Chopman hasn't actually backed yet because he's Ornn, he just gets to get items from wherever. He has a TP advantage if they want to look for something bot.
Yeah, but knowing Dario Chopman, he might be content to just see this massive CS advantage up top, which currently at 20, although Wang will get a few of these under his turret, but he is playing this matchup well. As the new Dario Chopman, man, he sometimes seems like he's at his best in this tank versus tank matchup.
It's real weird considering what we knew him before as just a non-meta player exclusively. So.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd been shut down one too many times playing some of those carry champs, but it just feels like he plays with more of his confidence when he's on some of these tanks, and he's playing very confident in this top lane right now.
To be fair, he's so far been playing. What champs has he played besides the Ornn?
Well, I guess he's played Graves spot lane the last 2 weeks.
True.
But
But
there was a
he
Kled game that he lost. Yeah, actually, he's been pretty all over.
He played a Malphite game, which he lost, I think.
Yeah,
actually.
he did lose the Malphite game. That was their 2-game losing stretch. There was also a Darius earlier in the season.
Okay.
As Smiggle's going to try to put some pressure down with his Kirky call, but Master Splinter has the smite available.
Little cheeky, tried to steal the.
Oh, but the
dragon.
Zigzago's coming out. Goku Rose is there as well. They get the knockup just outside of turret range, and Ziggs gets popped.
Kill goes over to Goku Rose. He gets a little bit closer to getting that Kane transformation, which he so badly needs before he can really be effective. I would assume he's going for an assassin. The blue Kane. which just lets him get combos off a lot cleaner. And just do a ton of damage. Blue Cane is ridiculous. But maybe in 5v5 scenarios, Red Cane's a little bit stronger.
Yeah, will be eventually the late game Mundo, so they might be thinking that that's all the tankiness one team comp requires.
Yeah,
but he's falling behind early, so he's got to be careful.
Yeah, and I think the real problem with him going a Blue Cane would be their lack of CC. Would really only be on Zwerbs. Hard CC wise, they have a couple slows between Mundo, Fizzled, and they have the Jin route, but nothing crazy concrete without a Cane knockup.
Some recalls coming out in the spotland as Ziggs had roamed to join his friends. Fizz taking that opportunity to make his way to the top side where Dario Chopman, as we've been saying, has been pushed for a long time, but camera will be spotted out by a ward here.
Dario Chopman can look over, see what he can get, but places a ward, keep himself safe. Spinner doing a little bit of a walk-in, see what he can find, but nothing to it. Oh.
Camera whiffs the shark. Gonna put some back. What?
Good. Welcome to Fizz, boys.
This champ sucks, dude. But who else sucks is my Wang getting the tower dome up here, gets the ult off of Dr. Mundo, but still ends up dying to this gank. The tower nearly secures Dario Chopman, but a clean gank out of Splinter and Dario. But Camera is roaming up here. And he doesn't really need to touch Chopman much. He does have a flash available to try to juke here, and he's going to try to do what he can. His Camera popping everything he's got. He's slow, but he's flashing out. He's a long way from home, though, and Splinter is going to come try to track him down.
I don't think he'll find him, but...
Ooh, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. And remember, Renai is not that far. Oh, no. Splinter does not go chasing. But this game is now maybe starting to accelerate on the pace a bit. Camera 2-0-1 after a bit of a slow start. And this could be what Broke Bottom Boys needed to get involved in this game. As now Fizz is very scared. I mean, he just... Renai circulation is going to have the fear of God now. After not connecting with the Fizz ult, Camera still easily gets the kill because Fizz is a bullshit champion. Renai's gonna feel like he can't approach Camera at all.
Yeah, he's gonna need that. The problem playing against Fizz is you want to build a Zhonya's, but it's actually only has armor in it, so it just feels kind of bad to build in the first place. So it's gonna be sad, but I think that'd be his best shot. Try to avoid a Fizz one shot again. Ooh, there.
So they want to invade for this blue. It's ended up being secured by Splinter as the Fizz ult comes out. Renai being forced very far away from his team. Tries to put some damage out before he dies there, but now Scotch and Salvo are coming in. They do get this damage on a Goku Rose. It's a 1-for-1 as everyone is committing quick out of this. Scotch with a strange ignite on a Camera. But Dario Chopman is trying to zone this whole team by himself. He is a very tanky Aura, and he's just starting to go down. This Splinter's putting some damage on the other side. He takes out the brand. It's another 1-for-1 within this fight. As now Camera is very low with no resources remaining. Salvo trying to get in here, but he is whipping everything. Jin did shut down Master Splinter on the other side of this fight, and this is a very messy fight, but a disaster for Back in our days. They are going to try to finish this one off. Salvo just barely gets away, but Smiggles on the flank with the secure. And that is a 2-for-5 in favor of the Broke Bottom Boys, and they're gonna get a turret out of it as well.
5-0-2 on this Fizz now, looking really scary. Ugh.
Yeah,
is this first turret?
Yeah, this will be first brick here. Gonna be a nice 2,000 gold lead for the Broke Bottom Boys, who really, I don't know if they're going to have an answer for Camera anytime soon. He's going to be able to just delete somebody before every one of these fights.
Yeah, definitely gonna have to try to lock him down. And Fizz's ult really didn't have an impact that fight. It ulted Splinter and had forced him out, but it wasn't crazy damage as far as I saw.
Yeah, maybe that fight goes better for back in our day if it doesn't get so split. Splinter looked like he really wanted to tunnel down to the bottom half of that fight while the camera was panning onto the top half. So maybe with more resources up there, his camera was kind of just sitting around at low health for a while. We'll see. Still a fairly even game.
They send Jin topside a little bit strange considering Dragon is up right now. Sending your teleport down. I guess Dario Chapman can't come join. However, normally you'd want to send your ADC topside only after you get the Dragon and all of the objectives that come with.
Yeah, but BBB, we know shot calling hasn't always been their biggest suit, as Hammer's going to kill overnight circulation again here with pretty ease. As this is turning into the very rare Lab is feeding game. Normally a very consistent player, but he has just been overwhelmed by this Fizz. He just purchased a stopwatch.
Yeah. You gotta think back to the draft on this one. When they picked the Ziggs, they didn't hold the last pick for the Ziggs. They held it for Leona, I believe. A little bit of a pretty greedy pick order for them. I guess they weren't worried about whatever BBB could throw at them, but they obviously should have.
They might not have been thinking about Camera on the Fizz. They might have thought it was somebody else.
Yeah, I think they expected Smiggles to go mid lane like he did the other week.
Yeah, when he played Echo, you know, a similar enough champion, the Fizz.
Yeah.
But no, it is Camera, and all of your worst nightmares of playing against Camera are coming true right now. But Smiggles may be pretty deep here. Actually, he's going to be able to heal his way out of that one. He had a lot of teammates around. As Repelled secured by BBB, Camera whiffs another Fizz ult, but Camera has been very aggressive with these Fizz ults, which I've really liked. Even if a lot of them aren't connecting, he is constantly trying to find plays. Like, look at that! He just Hex Tech belts in, and Blab has to flash.
Yeah. Pretty sad. They do get Dragon BOD for this.
Yeah, but they're going to lose mid lane turrets, or at least a lot of pressure on it in the process. As the Shelly is coming out, and yeah, that's the turret. We are... Back in our day could potentially flank onto this mid lane.
I think they're scared.
Yeah, they look scared, but Ezreal ult comes out, does not connect with any champions, but BBB are content to back off of this one. They do have a lot of people sitting on a lot of gold, basically the whole team over 1,000 right now. So they probably want to go spend before they get caught in any fights here, as back in our day is not sitting on as much gold in their inventories.
BioD really needs to be careful with these fights that they take. They should be trying to scale up as much as possible. Blab now has that stopwatch, which will help for one fight, but after that, he needs to get that at Zanya's finished as soon as possible.
Yeah, but BBB may be a little greedy with trying to clear out side waves before backing. And back in our day, in a somewhat advantageous situation here, is they do get the stun onto Swerves. They get the easy pick there as well. Salvo's first kill of the game coming through. His ult once again came out, but it didn't turn into anything. As back in our day, maybe gonna try to siege here with creeps. They are taking some damage in the top lane from weighing on the Mundo. But this might be the kind of situation they want to be in. Trading pressure mid for a very slow push in the top lane.
A super split call as Smiggles didn't stay top lane. But
oh, Goku Rozo trying to pick this fight, but he maybe was playing a little too aggressively. There's been 9 circulation. It's the snipe with the Ziggs ult. And now will the fight continue? They forcing Camera back. The health are somewhat low for the Bro Bottom Boys, but Wang is popping that Dr. Mundo out, and his Camera in the Suck Squad that they're trying to chase here. But the chase is going to end. Salvo tosses out the Ezreal ult. True Shot does not find anybody. And I think this fight's going to end up just being a quiet 1-0.
And there really is no reason for them to continue. Camera, that whole fight was around half HP. He's their most fit player right now. You should be playing around him, but My Wang just pops his ulti, starts running at people, and if they were a little bit more aggressive, BOD could have just turned on him and killed him. I don't think Camera could have done anything. It was very scary for them at that point, and lucky they only lost one, I'd say.
Yeah, now Cameron did just complete his Lich Bane, so I feel like this is probably peak Fizz power within this game right now, is where we're at for the next like 5 minutes or so.
He does have 10 stacks on his Dark Seal too, which gives him pretty solid advantage. Ezreal's still trying to stack up the tier and work on that Triforce. I will be curious if he goes for the double tier build, which wouldn't be that bad of an idea, giving the extra shield in case of a Fizz one shot, but
Yeah, and maybe back in our day is just gonna really count on bad late game shot calling from broke bottom boys and really hard try to scale this one out.
yeah.
Because there will eventually be a point where Fizz can't just one shot anyone.
Yeah.
But
Definitely
we're
looks
still-
like they're looking for mid-game, going the Triforce for Splinter as well, so mid to late game fights look like what they're looking for.
But right now we see the Vision game kind of making its way up towards this top side as BBB want to bait this bush for a sec. They're gonna maybe catch Splinter out here as he is going aggressively in to clear that ward. Gets killed by the Dr. Mundo.
Pretty good bait by them, but Splinter should have been more cautious. He did just see them play stepping for it, I think, so.
Yeah, and now Dario Shotman is the one getting chunked out under his own tower here. There's a long range damage coming through. Cammer and Goku Rose diving very deep. Cammer is godlike. And that's going to turn into this top lane turret taken. The Zigzag's coming through just to delay things. And I don't think there'll be a tier 2 turret push here, but
It might be
Camera and
looking
the boys
towards
are
Baron.
going towards Baron. Yeah. They have the pink in the pit already. And oh, I don't think Back in our Day has any clue. I mean, their smite is, I guess he's on his way, but it was probably a safe assumption that there were recalls coming through. And Splinter is maybe about to walk into Cammer. Oh, he's gonna die just trying to do the team play here. Baron is secured. Now, can they take Cammer out for it? They can, but a worthwhile trade for Pro Bottom Boys.
Yeah. The very little solace thing he did. Camera did so much damage to Splinter. He didn't even get his ult off again. Oof. It's gonna be really difficult for them to
Yeah, and we've
play
seen
these
that
team fights.
BBB does have the balls to attempt these turret dives. And now with the Baron buff, I have to assume they're going to ramp that up even more.
I'm wondering if they're gonna just do a 1-4 split, probably with this Baron. I would assume my Wings teleport coming up decently soon. That'd probably be the safest play. Because Fizz without teleport, I mean, he probably could kill anyone in the side lanes.
Yeah, I almost think that they should just split the Fizz.
Yeah,
But
Might
who
be
knows, maybe
solid.
Camera doesn't trust this team to be in a 4 without him situation.
maybe.
But I just... Man, looking at this Ezreal pick, Salvo is so far behind where an Ezreal wants to be at this point. He's only at 155 CS, which is an issue when you're trying to get to the hyper late game that Ezreal wants to see. I mean, he does have Triforce and the Muramana at this point, so he's starting to see some power come through, but this just has not looked like a pick that Salvo has known how to utilize, and it's going to probably not change anytime soon within this game.
Wait, and so he went Amptome in the tier start? That's definitely questionable for the second tier.
Questionable builds has always been a Salvo specialty. As we do see both the tanks getting pulled up into the top lane here. Dire Chapman gonna have his work cut out for him trying to solo clear away Baron waves.
Thankfully, if this was Fizz though, that would be a lot more kill pressure.
but I wouldn't be surprised if we see both of these lanes cave in as the next waves crash. But BBB are playing with a lot of respect in this mid lane, taking this kind of slow, but it's still working. They are chunking through this turret, and it is going to fall.
Bot lane's actually pushing in for them too, so sooner or later they should have a should be able to rotate down. Probably after they push this next wave, if Blab and Sava can just clear it, they'll rotate bot and go for that.
Yeah, you see Goku Rose the first rotation. Or he's just going to secure a blue buff that.
Okay, well.
Worth, but maybe something was seen here as we do see back in our day want to engage in this top lane, but they're going to be losing mid lane inhibitor turret in the process.
Their only solace being they got fizzled, but will that matter? Probably not, as they go for another turret. They're 7th in the game. Oh, BOD only has 1. This is kind of weird, 3-2 split. And I can see what BOD were going for, trying to engage on
yeah, but
this.
it ends up turning into a pick on his swerves. Now can Scotch find something in this bot lane?
Please be careful.
Looking like it. But in this top lane, Dario and Splinter want to get this pick onto Wang, but this is a scary amount of damage for Splinter to chase into, as Wang fails the flash over the wall. Splinter with the flash to secure the kill. And now I think the push finally comes to a stop here for BBB, but overall a successful Baron.
Yeah, you have to wonder what Swerves was doing up there. There was no reason for him to be trying to split push with 2 people with the Mundo. Yeah. Considering how much they got from it, it might not matter, but it's the little things that you have to look for in these games where you need to look to improve on.
When life closes a door, open a portal to the...
You know I want to make references to how bad the BBB shot calling has been, and I don't want to trust them to close this game out, but they do have a pretty sizable advantage at this point, and a fairly simple path to closing things out. Maybe more importantly, we haven't seen any serious resistance out of back in our day yet. It still feels like they are a lot of time away from really doing anything with this composition, as Zwerves is going to bait out a Leon ult just by existing there.
That's kind of the last thing you want to do with a Leon ult. It shows how desperate they are, I think. Throwing Leon ult first, you definitely want to lock someone down and then do the Leo ult just for further CC. Just fishing for ults pretty much never works, unless with crazy cluster fight team fights. So a little bit of desperation out of BOD. Not pay off. Thankfully, short cooldown, so shouldn't affect him in the next team fight, I don't think.
Yeah, especially because Rogue Bottom Boys, I do want to criticize them here a bit. Oh, no, they canceled that recall, so I guess I'll stop. But they had been kind of staggering recalls for a while there. And it felt like just not doing anything to keep the tempo. But yeah, here we go, more recalls. I don't know what Broke Bottom Boys just spent the last 2 minutes doing, to be completely honest.
Realistically, yeah, nothing. What they're gonna do is they're just gonna wait for Baron to spawn. They're just gonna push waves back up, push wave back up. They're gonna be very, very cautious. Maybe a sign of not being used to being this far ahead.
Yeah, their one win this season was not a game where they were leading the whole game. It was a very slow, late game 5 versus 5 type of game that they had won. But back in our day, probably content with this. They get a chance to slow things down, keep trying to scale up a bit more. Obviously, Saba with that double tier build, they want this game to take as long as it possibly can. But they do know they have to contest for this Baron. And it is just now spawning.
A little bit of poke on Scotch, too. Awkward for Leona. She doesn't have great health regen, so look for that in the next fight if she gets blown up by someone like the Brand.
Yeah, no. Back in our day, fortunate that BBB have not started up the Baron yet. They're not super aggressively trying to force this one, which I think BBB could honestly just start the Baron and force somebody to walk into a Fizz ult, but they are happily taking the dance here. But Goku Rose has been showing a lot, so BioD, no, the Baron hasn't been started just yet. And now Baron finally being started, but maybe back in our day, are just content to take the base race here. This is going to be a very sketchy trade, but that is a Baron secured by the Broke Bottom Boys, but at what cost? Back in our day, onto the inhibitor, and they're going to get it. And now, do they get out alive?
Hard to see them not get out alive. There's very low engage.
Yeah, they do have people pathing up, though, and
Miss Fizzle.
The Miss Fizzle, maybe the big one, but Kane is making his way in, but he is pretty split from his team here. The Kane's going to get popped first, and now back in our day, they are fighting as a unit. They have got some CC onto Cameron. Cameron's flashing out defensively. Salvo trying to chase him down. He's dodging everything. Cameron jumps back in, gets a double kill onto the back in our day bot lane before dying, but this is still looking like a good
This is 40 seconds.
Back in our days, and they're going to try to secure onto Wang here, but I don't think they'll be able to. He's a very tanky Mundo.
Maybe Splinter had a little bit more HP. They try something aggressive like going for a Nexus Tower or something, but
it would be really difficult because they
Baron
would be pushing into Baron creeps.
Yeah.
So I think they're content to take this. They have the inhibitor down. That essentially stalls out this entire Baron timer. And
yeah,
it just
there's
keeps
only two people.
Yeah, and by the time they have all the waves pushed, essentially, on supers to keep the pressure in the mid lane. And by the time the inhibitor respawns, the Baron runs out. And they just keep stalling Salvo towards this second upgraded tier item.
It's a really gritty attempt at an engage from BBB. They don't have hard CC, like I said earlier. They just walk into an Ornalt and a Zigzal. It's not easy. I mean, Scotch's ult did kind of whiff, but in general, all of their ults are very clustery, I'd say. And their only solace that fight was because Brand, they all stacked up so close to each other that the Brand passive just messed them up for Cameron to get 2 kills. It was very, very awkward, I'd say, from BioD in the latter part of that fight, but they wanted to kill Cameron really badly.
Yeah, and I don't blame them for tunneling onto Cameron a bit after how this game had been going.
Yeah.
Speaking of Cameron, he does fail a jump over the wall there. He has the signs pretty early. Scotch though would be really bad in the Yonal, but they toss everything and they get Cameron. And now this fight continues. The Ornal coming through. They've knocked up Swerve. They've knocked down Swerve. Splinter flashing forward. They're trying to get Smiggles. Goodness gracious, they've been losing this whole game, but now it's a 0 for 3. Dario Chapman does have the teleport to match Wang though, and that could be enough of a misdirection that stops Back in Our Day from being able to end here, but they're gonna try. It looks like there's
He's just
only
gonna try to stop his
20-something
back.
seconds.
Goku
Back
Rose
in Our
doesn't
Day-
have Baron.
Yeah, Back in Our Day, gonna try to end. They have their range now. Wang is teleporting in. Dario Chapman cannot get here, but Goku Rose goes in. That was maybe not the right play here on this King, or maybe it is. He's bought a lot of time here before going down. There's only 5 seconds on camera. I think Back in Our Day are going to run the hell out of this base now.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of a greedy call, thinking they could get a Nexus Tower there.
Yeah, that was my heart was fluttering there.
You've got to imagine what's going on in their heads right now. They're super hypey. Cameron misplayed.
I can understand it. I have been there. I have won games off of that. I have lost games off of that.
Yeah.
But the stall continues, and Back in Our Day is getting more and more confidence, and just their late game existence of a shot caller is starting to come through. We haven't seen Cameron do anything in a while now. They just, coming off of that first Baron, they had such a big advantage, and they played BBB played so slow, trying to stall out for the second Baron. It didn't go well, and now, you know, Magic Resist is going to start coming through for Back in Our Day. This is starting to feel like back in our day's game.
Yeah, this is... It's still about a 3k gold deficit, so it's not perfectly in their hands, but a couple more catches like that, for sure, this is going to be really hard. Baron's not going to spawn. This isn't just the wait out Baron timer. They've got to do something here.
I think one thing I'm going to be watching carefully in these team fights, we need to see something out of Wang, something big, because Wang should actually be unkillable. There is an Ezreal and a Ziggs on the enemy team. What could possibly kill Dr. Mundo in one of these team fights? And he needs to play a lot more aggressively to give his team space to work with.
Not to mention, there's only one Executioner's calling from Splinter.
What a smart rotation. BioD get to the top lane turret first. They secure the last tier 1 of the game. And now, Broke Bottom boys want to go for a bush bait here.
This is so bad. If they walk forwards all in a line, they're just going to get Ornulted.
Yeah, and they do kind of end up giving up on this one. But Goku Rose going, and he wants to get out of this turret, but he is completely split from his team. But it's still, the flanking is enough to push back in our day back off this turret momentarily until Ziggs secures the turret.
This has to somehow get on the side here and be able to one-shot Salvo or Blabon, but not easy.
Yeah, they're very scared of Ziggs fight. Now they finally have Wang and Cameron trying to set up a flank, but back in our day is positioning very intelligently all along here. And now it is worth noting the BBB do have both the other two lanes pushing, but Splinter going in deep, trying to pop on his worth, and they do. Salvo with the long range, now Cameron taking some damage. He has to pop this Zani as early as the Ornal comes through. Ziggs is completely forced out of the fight, and Trifish is down in this fight. And now Scott pushes forward, gets the jump onto the enemy line, goes a little too deep though, is now from downtown, this Jinwall coming out. My range still with a lot of health remaining, but it may not be enough. It's a 2 for 2, make that a 2 for 4. And now Goku Rose has made it onto the flank. They put the damage onto the shot man. Back in our day just got super hypey in that fight, and I don't know why.
Yeah, they kind of were disrespecting the fact that Cameron is not the only damage source. The Kana himself managed to almost 1v4 them earlier. It's still... This Jin and Kane do a lot of damage, and like you said, Mundo's not killable. Only one Executioner's calling. It's difficult.
And honestly, I have to call out Splinter for that fight, because that was just an absolutely brain-dead engagement. I do not know what he saw to start that fight. But now we see Rose and Wang want to start up Baron. Broke Bottom boys, they have some time here as it's starting slow, as there was not an 80 carry in the pit until just now. But I still don't think they're going to get there in time. No, they are not. Baron is secured.
Even more stalling. Oh.
Scotch though, Leona forces a flash, but Scotch is pretty split from his team, and he's starting to get CC'd, and nope. Alright, all over. Leona traded for a brand flash. Probably worth.
Yeah, worth for BOD. If they can patch Swerves out again, it's gonna be a little bit harder for him just to spam out all of his abilities in a fight.
By the way, Salvo did just get that Seraph's Embrace recently, so he is at the pretty Ezreal point of the game. As now, back in our day, they want to trade the super objectives here. They're onto this Elder Dragon pretty early, and it's going to be uncontested. Cameron takes some damage on the entry as Shotman is maybe getting engaged on. He got his Lucy, but Cameron maybe deep in this fight. A lot of damage coming out. Dire Shotman is down, like Cameron does not get any quick. That's a 2 for 1 so far, but back in our day is the team that is pressing. No, they're not pressing this one forward. They get a little too scared after Dire Shotman goes down. They know how the last few fights have went. They're content to walk away with their Elder Dragon.
Yeah, a 2 for 1. Trading some kills for Baron deaths is actually pretty worth for BOD. The Elder Dragon effect a lot shorter. The fact they have 3 dragons is what really made that a good call. Is if they only had 1 dragon, they do a lot less damage in that fight. Good job by them to at least be able to trade an objective, maybe pour out of BBB for not having vision on it, really.
Yeah, the stall continues.
When's the last time we've seen Cameron get a kill?
Been a while. He's 10-2.
10-5. Salties have been hitting Brandon a lot. Is not going to help him out in any of the ways. I think when he tried to E over, Salvo just E back and immediately popped the Seraph's Embrace. So.
Alright, I have a question for you about somebody who knows how currently guns work. Triforce on the Ezreal while doing the double tier builds. Is that normal, or is that as bad as my mind is telling me it is?
It's definitely a very, very late scaling thing. You normally see the blue build Ezreal when you just don't have that. You already have like a decent amount of damage on the other side.
They see Camer on the other side of the map. They see Wang is in the top lane. They see their chance to pick 3 here. They jump and they kill the Jhin. They're going to jump and kill the Brand, and that is a lot of damage off of the table back at our day. Now we see Dario Chopman going to match Camer, but he's going to be interrupted. There's going to be a lot of base damage dealt here by the Broke Bottom boys as Camer trying to take out this inhibitor. He's going to be able to, while Wang also gets an inhibitor tower on the other side of the map. Back in our day is confused about whether they want to end or not, as they do have a few trying to, and now they're going to try to stop back. Wang should be out here. Wang is going to teleport into his base, but they do pick off Camer as well. This is all the damage knocked out. But meanwhile, in this place, Splinter and Scotch and Not are fighting outnumbered. They pushed very aggressively. Scotch flashing to try to secure this inhibitor, but he will not. A double kill on the Rosé, and the fiesta continues.
Very split calls. It looked like Savo wasn't sure if he should go with his team or back there. And in the end, a 2 for 2?
Yeah, but Broke Bottom boys do secure top lane's inhib turret and bot lane's inhib. So I'm going to say that's a win for the Broke Bottom boys.
Barely, yeah.
Barely, though, because I'm still just scared about how they close out this game. But they have all inhibitors exposed.
You do have to see the power of the Ornn in these team fights, though. How much, like, BBB definitely did not respect how far away Dario Chopman could engage there, and that's the only reason they got some picks early on. When they at the very first caught Smiggles and Zwerbs, I believe. So they're gonna have to respect that, especially if they try to fight again in the jungle. I'm pretty sure that BioD should just destroy fights in these close quarter engages.
Yeah, I would want to think so. But we'll see what BioD does. They don't have a teleport available for another minute-ish, and they do have supers pouring in from this bot lane that have to be accounted for. Salvo is currently slowing them down.
This could definitely be one of those gross games where people are just trying to split push you out. Look at the wards BioD still has. Like Goku Rose just sitting on it. He hasn't swapped to a Oracle lens yet, which I believe would be a mistake. Just sitting on a ward, you know.
This is just so scary for back in Idze. Their base is about to be under siege. They have no turrets to retreat to unless they run all the way to the Nexus. A lot of creative flanking options available here for the Broke Bottom boys, who do look like they want to seize this one out, as Camer is pressuring from the mid lane while the rest of the team pressures from the top. Directed camera with no clue where to take us.
Used as we are. They are actually putting the Fizz in the side lane, which we talked about earlier. Probably would have been a lot more useful 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not sure that Camer can accomplish what BBB want him to accomplish. But, yeah, look at that Splinter. He's forcing Camer out here when he engages. You know, these BBB are not approaching any of these open inhibitors. There we go. The Fizzle does come out, but it's just a little tickle onto the Xin Zhao, who has gotten very tanky. We haven't had much of a chance. Oh, but now Leona forces the flash out of Zwerps. Dire Chopman charging in, but Not all the way in. And this stall for the bot lane in-hib respawn continues.
The problem with this, that it's just kind of standoff they're having is BioD definitely has the advantage in poke. They have the Ziggs, they have the Ezreal. So if Camer and BBB can't find an engage, then...
And now Splitter is trying to 1v1 Camer. He's forced the ult, or forced 2 ult, but it's into the Zines, but it doesn't matter. Splitter has 1v1'd Camer. And now Broke Bottom Boys are being forced back out of this base. The inhib is going to respawn soon. The super objectives are spawning. Bear it up, a minute 30 on the Elder Dragon. And this could be Back in Our Day's chance to take control of the map back.
Yeah, what a poor time to get caught out there. Using his flash and still dying his Fizz. It's a miracle.
And now here comes the Orange Call of the Forge. They're jumping onto lane, but first they find a pick onto Swerve on the grid. And now no matter how tanky this Dr. Mundo is, he can't take 1v5 forever. Fortunately for BBB, they took out Master Splinter while this fight was breaking out. The Kane is coming forward. He's actually putting out some good damage. Gets the kill onto Salvo, and he's going to finish off Scotch as well. Smiggles is kind of dueling the Shotman, and it's looking like Back in Our Day did not fight this one right. They never had Renai's circulation, and even without Cameron, this ends up being a good fight for Broke Bottom Boys. They're going to try to take out Dire Shotman. He then got him slowed.
Yeah, he's dead.
This could be a major disaster. There are some long spawn times for half of this team still.
They go for Baron, or do they go probably for Baron, the safer play? But
Yeah, they have the AD carry and they have the smites.
yeah, this AD carry, I never talked about it, but his build is pretty questionable. I wouldn't want to build Youmu's on Jhin anymore without fully committing to a lethality build. Storm Razor though, pretty good item on him, and yeah, the rapid fire into IE, fine to see Youmu's, but right now with all the items he has, he does a lot of damage, and was kind of able to force Dario Chopin off of doing much that fight. And that wasn't even a numbers advantage for them, for either team, because Vlad decided he had to stay back and defend bot lane.
Yeah, a little hypey. I think Back in Our Day thought they would just secure the picks there, and they didn't. And now the double super objective siege begins out of the Broke Bottom Boys. They didn't have the confidence to all in before, but with the Baron creeps, I think they will this time. Back in Our Day probably can't wait long here, as these inhibs will get shoved through. And here we go, Call of the Forge coming through. Camera being forced out next to Splinter with some zoning on this fight. They had the setup, but the Broke Bottom Boys did not have this fight. The bot lane for BBB already down. Now Wang trying to chase towards those two heroes, but Cameron so far out. He does connect with the Fizz ult, but it does not matter. This is 48 minutes into this game. Fizz no longer is a threat as Goku Rose goes down. It takes some time, but Goku Rose gonna take out a support while he's in there, but he finally goes down. It's a 1-for-4. And now just Camer trying to hold on to this game.
Do they just try to push down mid, or?
Yeah, there's still 30 seconds on the bot lane. I think they're going to at least get this inhibitor, but I don't think they end. They don't have creeps coming.
No, top lane and bot lane are still only around the river side.
Camer's maybe going to look for a cheeky pick, especially Salvo and Renai are separated from their team right now, and they've just found out Camer whips the ult, but that doesn't stop them much.
Wait.
Salvo with the shields. Salvo's going to go down there.
I think Blab just kind of like saw him. He might have been looking at the inhib and just walked by. Like, nope, you can deal with that.
And this awful game continues. Now Camer is going to go try to get some damage onto the enemy exposed inhibitors.
I think he should get this inhib, actually. That Lich Bane will do a lot of damage.
Yeah, 5 hits. 5 hits and Camer takes an inhib. He's not settling for 1. Well, maybe he is, because he is very, very dead.
He's dead.
But, hey, Camer, he got his first kill in a while.
True.
Maybe momentum swinging back to the Broke Bottom Boys.
This is the 50-minute special you always dream of casting. Just team back and forth at back and forth. Red side doesn't have any lanes pushed, so they can't actually get anything off of fights won. Ugh. And it's really mentally taxing. That's what you gotta remember about these games. Just to be this close to winning. The only fights BBB has really won has been off of BOD overextending after small picks.
But a flash comes out his word, but he still gets knocked up anyway. Splinter's going forward, and they're putting up the damage. The things don't come through, and they've taken out the fan. Now, what else can they get? They had to trade match to Splinter Bullet, but his core, the bot lane on the enemy team with Goku Rose and Nai Wang have done a lot of damage in a lot of fights by themselves. Can they do it again? Salvo still not in this fight, but Wang and Goku Rose are the ones taking the damage. They're getting knocked up, and that could be the game-ending knock. Salvo has just ended this fight and is just Wang available for 5 more seconds until Camera respawns, but they're taking out the Mundo. For the first time this game, they have creeps in the bottom boy base. What can Camera do to hold on to this one? Because he's got more than 30 seconds till he gets any help here. Can he find a way on the Salvo?
Watch for Blab though, the fish.
Whips the ult. He's getting the damage onto a 9, but it doesn't matter. It's the 80 carry he needs, and both of the turrets are down. The 9, Salvo, and the Shotman are on the Nexus, and they've done it back in our day. Come back and win the Fiesta.
Oh. Gross.
Gross. Disgusting. Awful League of Legends. And Camera tried his heart out to win that game early, but we saw yet again broke bottom boys' inability to shot call in League of Legends costs them a game of League of Legends that they absolutely should have won. What a fantastic comeback out of back in our day.
Yeah, who are you thinking we should bring in here?
I just brought in Splinter for the exact same reason last week, or else it would be him. I would kind of like to hear from no one, but
pick 2.
Let's get Renai in here. He's watching. Renai, get in here.
Just Blab here?
Yeah, we'll do a Blab interview. I'll message him the password.
Sounds good.
So I don't think we've heard from Blab in a while, if at all, this season.
Definitely been playing more of the quiet, just heavy damage dealer in the.
Oh my god,
team
you guys
fights.
bring me in this week?
Hey, welcome.
Alright, so where do we
Use
start?
your words.
I'm out of them. I used them all that game.
I bet you did.
So that game, did you expect it to be Camera on the Fizz, or was that a last second swap? Oh shit moments.
No, that swap did actually get me. Like even as soon as they commented, I was like, oh, it's gonna be Zorbs on Fizz, which the last time I played it, I just dunked it with AP Nautilus. But no, it's Camera.
And when he picked the Fizz, did you kind of panic? You didn't get that you didn't use the red side last pick for yourself, instead picking it a little bit early, maybe?
I didn't panic when I thought it was Zorbs.
Oh, okay.
Camera kind of changed that a little bit. I probably should have taken Resolve Tree second, but it didn't work out. I died a lot, but
the Fizz balance really got you when you missed Fizz ults and still didn't have your health.
That second one was particularly tilting. We're just like, I successfully dodged the ult, and then he just goes and kills me. And I was like, oh, fun, interactive gameplay.
Was there a voice in that game that just like told everyone to calm down? You guys scale. You can win the team fights because they don't have CC.
No, there was nothing but panic.
There was nothing but panic. I respect that actually.
Did you watch the game?
There definitely looked like a lot of run down mid. Oh, we don't have any minions. We're
Dude,
trying
the number
to
of times I said run it down mid. I'm not talking about the early game.
Alright. I mean, so hard to.
Yeah, there's
get
no
through
there's
that.
no words for a game like that. That was
Yeah.
Especially clowny, but fairly exciting clown fiesta at least.
It was less exciting. Oh, I mean, there's plenty of energy, but it wasn't excitement.
Panic, fear. Best
Well,
words to use.
You guys held on I guess that's what ultimately matters.
Yeah,
So
as
you
I like to
guys-
say, a win's a win.
You guys keep things tied with Ornhub here, both at 5 and 2. Enemy Gate is down, is going to be playing with Cruise Master next. So you guys potentially could only be a game back on first place. How do you feel about kind of the bigger picture shooting for first situation right now?
I mean, if they can drive a game, I think like if anyone else can beat them, then we sure as heck can, and that would tie it up, and then we have a nice, awful tiebreaker that's hopefully doesn't go another 50 minutes.
All right, well, that settles that, guys. We're running late enough, so we're gonna kick this one off towards Game 3 in a moment. So stay tuned. We will try to bring you something as exciting as that last one.
I
Not
hope not.
possible.